Bucksport Cemetery Committee meeting for Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Roll call, Larry Walt.
Here.
Stephen St. Peter.
Here.
Mark Eastman's here. Linda Moore.
Here.
And Chris Johnson.
Here.
All right. Third item would be approved minutes of the April 25th, 2024 meeting. Any questions or additions to that?
Move to accept.
I accept as well.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Motion passes. Discussion items. Perfect timing.
Mr. Chairman, on this agenda, a lot of it's repetitive from last month.
Yep.
I could have gotten it out sooner and looked for more, input, but some of the things I hauled out of there that were there last month, I thought we were well on our way to getting it figured out. But you'll notice that some of the things are quite repetitive, and
Sure.
it never hurts to have an update on the budget
Nope.
process.
I agree.
So that's why I set up that agenda that way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that.
Sure. I mean, as far as the budget update, I mean, there was no, to date, there's been no qualms as to what was proposed.
No, it's included in the budget as we showed it. I anticipate that the council tonight will vote to send them all out to public hearing on June 13th, and that will be that.
Mr. Chairman, the last date that I remember was May 9th. Something was gonna happen on May 9th with the council.
Yes, that's when we went through the budget, but tonight
Okay.
we're gonna move it to referendum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just wanna make sure I got the dates. Thank you.
On May 9th, they gave me any changes they wanted to see in the budget, and then I put it together for them to vote out for public hearing. That's what
Yep.
May 9th was.
Thank you. I just remember going through the minutes of what was happening May 9th and just trying to keep it straight. Thank you very much.
Sure. Oak Hill fence and tree removal update. I mean, we do have grass down, but not trees yet.
No,
Excellent
and-
job as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fence will be after the approval of the budget, which is what takes care of that.
Okay, so it won't be till after the vote.
We're gonna
The
take-
money is there, but the council has to
has to approve it.
approve it. The budget in
Yeah,
order for
what-
that to happen.
What's the sequence? Are we talking about taking the fence down, then taking the trees down afterwards? Is that what I'm understanding here? I'm just trying to remember.
It would probably make the most sense.
Yeah.
That's the logical way to do
To give them
Yeah.
enough room to work, not being impeded by the fence.
Mhm.
Yep. So it's gotta be a fairly coordinated effort. Take down, put back,
Yeah. Do we know?
technically speaking.
We're still looking at the gentleman up the River Road as potential vendor for removing the trees. Is that what I understand?
Mhm.
Okay. And so the coordination, who's gonna coordinate that? The Public Works? Is that what the plan is?
Public Works and myself.
Okay, thank you. I just wanna make sure. Thank you very much. Hello.
The next item would be the Old Methodist Cemetery update. I did speak with Alan Gordon, and his suggestion was to not LiDAR, was to go up with him. He's willing to come free of charge, just out of curiosity. If we want to set a time, I can coordinate that with Alan. I don't know if we'd want, and I don't know if it's even possible, Sue, to get some of the trees that are right over the top of this. I don't know, is it possible to get them away from, have Public Works get them away from that area, or should we go back up and
We need to
solidify
identify
first?
what you need, where you want it, and number two, what you want removed in order to,
Yeah, there's just a couple blown down trees on the segment that we believe to be.
Mhm.
okay,
The
and we
park.
also need to coordinate this with the property owner.
Yep. How about a date for Alan? I think late afternoon's probably best for him, but we could also coordinate with the property owner. Does anybody have any suggestions?
I don't, I'm just trying to understand that he doesn't believe the LiDAR should,
It's not necessary, it's what's his.
it's not necessary.
it- It's not worth the money. He feels he can show us on the ground where it is.
Okay, and the tree removal, go ahead, Larry, I'm sorry.
I think his concern was a lot of trees would have to come down.
Yeah, we'd have to get
in
the
order
trees
to
out.
Do it properly.
Okay.
Yep, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to get through the trees.
Right, I understand that, and the tree removal would not, working with the landowner, as you said, can the landowner have a say in saying that doesn't have to happen? How, has anybody ever had this kind of situation in any town that you're aware of? So
The landowner the last time was very amenable to us thinning out the trees to create a space. And I think I can't speak for them, but they are well aware of what we're trying to accomplish and
they've been wonderful.
they've been very accommodating, so
Yep.
I think, I'm sure that they don't want that entire forest cut down, and I can't blame them for that.
Right.
But the area that we're talking about doing, if some of it's already blowdowns, getting that stuff cleaned up before we look at it is what you're talking about,
That,
right?
yeah, that was a thought, but if you would rather we go up and have Alan give his take on it and then mark it.
Well, if someone marks it and gets buy-in from the landowner that this is what's coming down, then we can do that.
I'm happy to coordinate, I've got his email address, if you want me to, I can take care
That
of
would be great if you did that.
What I'll do is I'll reach out to Alan and see what his availability is, and then run it by everybody and the landowner as well, and just see what works for
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
We'll,
you.
we'll take some stakes up there and
Yeah.
stake it out.
Yep.
We can get some ideas about a fence and the distance and all that too, but when we get it done. It was quite obvious to me when we went where some of those were,
I agree.
you know.
Okay, Whitney Gifford Consult, for that cemetery, is there something?
Well, we had talked about maybe Whitney would go up to the Riverview and look over those stones. I don't know if
Yeah.
she's had the chance yet.
And she had planned on being here on the 23rd, so being that the meeting was moved, she had a conflict, so
Yeah. I
she'd be
just
here in
thought-
June.
For the June meeting? Okay.
I just put it on there because I couldn't remember what we talked about, so that's why I threw it back on there.
Riverview Cemetery Association meeting.
I have run the issue by the various people of the Riverview Cemetery Association as an early warning, and that they need to pay attention to this because this is gonna affect Riverview Cemetery potentially, and we need to make sure they understand that. They still don't seem to understand my salesmanship efforts here, that they need to get paying attention. There is a meeting coming, I think 2 weeks from now, when everybody returns, in preparation for the annual meeting, the end of June. But I wanna make sure that they know that they need to make sure that whatever's happens, that they're not gonna be liable or responsible for these things being moved out of there, or they give permission to move it out of there. I don't know if anybody needs permission, but there should be a good paper trail. That's one of the problems they had when they moved it over there. There wasn't a good paper trail for whatever reason.
Right.
But I think the Riverview Cemetery Association needs to be careful that they don't get held up by some sort of technicality that costs them some. They're not gonna be happy if there was a foul up here somewhere in the line. So I'm trying to get a meeting with them and the town to sit down and go over what expectations are, or what we think will have to happen.
I mean, do you wanna bring somebody to the June meeting for that, or?
That might be a good idea, yeah, just to have a good idea to have somebody here that who's gonna be the contact. It may be Ryan, it may be Sharon, it may be one of those folks.
Ryan's a neighbor of mine, I can.
Well, we have a board chair
Okay.
person too, so maybe I'll run it by her.
Sure.
I ran into her the other day and I forgot to ask her about it, so I will run this by the board chair. And I'm gonna, once I get this hopefully set up, so there's a full understanding of what will take place, then I'm gonna not be involved with the discussions with them at that point, because I am
Okay.
them.
Yep.
And I think there should be somebody else from this group
Yep.
representing this group.
Okay, but you'll initiate with the chair and
I
we'll
will
go
do
from
that,
there.
yeah, I will do that. Make
Okay.
sure that we have all understanding and no questions, that everybody knows the process. And when Whitney comes up, that'll help too, and we also need to be thinking about maybe a person that's above and beyond Whitney's skills, that knows how to move this stuff, if there is such a person or such a company around. I gotta think there is somebody somewhere that's good at this. I don't know. And I don't think the town wants to be held responsible for doing damage to this. These folks, bless their hearts, have never been trained on moving heavy slate stones down the road up through the, I don't know how they got them over there. I wasn't aware of the time. I wasn't up there at the time, but
Yep.
all the people involved at that move, except one who was a town employee, I think at the time, are now gone, so.
Sure. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. But I just wanna make sure both sides are safe and secure in the decision to release these things as well as,
Well, if you brought it on the 25th, if Whitney was gonna be here, that might, you know,
yeah, I'll
Be
see what I
beneficial.
can find out.
okay, okay. DAR updates. Business support established, not fundraising.
Well, that was a different, yeah, that was right. I just threw that in there because we had agreed last time, there's no fundraising involved in this, that
Yep.
just the DAR updates are pretty much the same as we did last time.
Okay. Tent, audio and chairs, et cetera, rental by town.
That was, I think Sue mentioned she was gonna be involved in that. You haven't reached out to anybody else.
I guess I need to know how many of whatever you're thinking about in terms of the need for chairs or need for a tent, or, I mean, there's the 10 by 10 pop-ups that we use in if it's gonna rain at those kind of things. There's tents that, can be rented, and, I don't know that we're looking at hundreds of attendees here, but so I just need some idea of scope. How big is this? How many people do you have coming, Elizabeth?
I have not sent this out yet. They're squawking for it. As of yesterday, they wanted it. So I wanted to get this meeting over with before we went any further. There's 900 and some odd members in the state. And so they aren't going to all come here. I can guarantee that. But there'll be probably 100 anyway, I would imagine.
And at these events, what's the typical setup for these? How elaborate do we need to go with chairs?
You may need a few chairs for the elderly ones to sit. A lot of times, if I can get them to respond to me, which I've asked for them to in my invitation that I am sending out probably tomorrow.
Okay,
I've asked them to tell us how many you'll have for each chapter and what you might need. If you have a lot of handicap, do we need handicap parking spaces? The Sons of the American Revolution are coming.
okay.
The main Sons of the main organization. So there's possibly 6 of them, but they're elderly, so they're gonna need to be able to park down on the Perry's Landing, because the flags and the muskets that they're bringing are extremely heavy, and they're probably going to be able to march across the parking lot with them, but they didn't indicate to me that they would be interested in coming down a hill from Brown Hall and doing a parade. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to be on Perry's Landing. That's where we're going to try to keep ourselves right there. We have Brown Hall reserved. We worked that all out, so that's available. And the Congregational Church Ladies Guild is going to provide our refreshments, for which we're going to reimburse them, or donate some to them for that, because it makes it a nice place to meet. There's plenty of parking.
Sure.
There were 2 other events that were gonna go on that day, and so we bounced the times, and we'll be doing it at 2:30.
Yes.
The state regent has approved that time, because of the bicycle race and also the funeral.
Yep.
So we've moved it to 2:30, and everybody seems to be okay with that.
It
How long-
also no longer conflicts with the stuff on the bridge.
Right,
Right.
right. How long do you anticipate the event?
Down there, I've never done this before, so this could be an interesting adventure. I don't plan to speak very long. I will do what I need to do for the groups and for my chapter. And the state regent will also be speaking, and I'm not sure how long she would speak, but I wouldn't imagine more than 10 minutes, or 15 possibly. we dodged the bullet. The national president general could not schedule us. The state regent generously invited her. And she likes to come for 3 days when she comes, and it turns into quite an event. So I was very pleased when she decided to go to the Burnham Tavern, and in July, the Hannah Weston chapter with 93 members in it will be hosting her up in Machias, which will be nice.
Yep.
And she may, you know, have some pictures from here, which is, you
Yep.
know, good. But you're going to be the first in May.
I think we talked about a half hour, the program should be about a half hour,
Total.
and then going to, the goal being that the people who are coming from a distance will have time to get home before, you know, in daylight too,
Right.
which is a lot of the DAR members. So about 2:30 to 3 for the program, and then Brown Hall at 3. But
Okay.
that if, for people, other people who were making this more of a day than, who might be in town for the bicycle thing, or might, you know, that there's other things going on, that if the, I think you said the library was gonna be open for a time.
You know, from 10 to 1 only.
Yep, that would be great, and that the Historical Society was gonna be,
They're from 1 to 4. Is that what it is?
Oh,
Oh,
we-
that
we
will-
kind of go on either side of it.
that people can go before or after, that would work.
Do you think we need to talk about closing the parking lot or anything? Do we need to go to that extent, or to reserve that, some of that parking down there?
I think maybe you
That
will have
might
to.
be a good idea.
If she talks about summer.
Right, being able to get people parking, you know, because I don't know how many there are, but I doubt there's 6 or 8 down there.
I think
You
that's a
doubt
good
there's
idea.
what?
I doubt there's 6 or 8 handicap spots down there.
There's not, I think there's 2.
How would we work closing that?
Well,
Is it possible to reserve some spots, cones?
we can
Once I
We
get-
can mark anything we want to,
Once I get some numbers.
as long as I know how many we need, and the people who are coming would know that they were okay to come through, you know, that, when you send your thing out, I anticipate you'll get responses saying how many and what their needs are. If you convey that to us, then we can work on the parking, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and
Is that-
be glad to, we'll give you some numbers. I'm pushing your riverfront walkway.
Because this is also a good parking lot, and it's a short stroll down to the, it's a very nice walk, actually, down to
That
the,
would be great.
And they can park up, the parking up at the Congregational Church area is huge, there's a lot of parking there. And, walking down the hill to go to the river park is not a bad, for
No.
younger, I consider myself younger people, and, we're talking 80s and 90s, some of these people, so I would consider that they might want to ride, but the rest of us are quite healthy.
Sure. Well, like Sue said, I mean, people could come down to this parking lot and make the shorter track, whichever's
to be
easiest.
through, and I'm telling them that it's a.
We
a
also
mile
have
historical.
our senior center bus, that if we had people that parked up, in the parking lot, that we could bring them down, and that would save on parking. That's a handicapped accessible 15-passenger bus, so that's another possibility that we would have, I believe, available on that.
I'd be willing to drive the bus if you want me to.
Well, that's very kind of you, Mark, but I'm just saying that we have some options for, if people were gonna end up at Brown Hall and wanted to leave their car there, we could get them, and they didn't wanna necessarily walk down the hill and down here, we could get them down with that, with the bus.
That's a nice offer, thank you. I
Well, when you
also-
get your people telling you what they need and how
Yeah.
many are coming, we can make a better plan then. But we do have some options for, for that.
I had another thought in mind, and that would be insurance for the event. Should we consider this as the Daughters of the American Revolution, as a chapter? Should we consider the one-day insurance, which you can put on events? When we did William Hutchins Day and Penobscot, plus Donna and Bob were in that business, but we had one-day insurance for the event. Do you see that as necessary for us
Um,
here?
I would think so.
Hmm?
I would think so.
I'm trying to think of what the most likely claim would be someone falling, and it wouldn't be falling on DAR property, it would be falling on town property. And anything that we are part of is covered by our insurance. If your group was solely responsible for this, that might be more necessary. It wouldn't hurt to ask your insurance company, but the property is all ours. I don't, unless one of your members assaults someone, in which case,
Well,
I'm being
Well.
facetious, but you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
the
Sure, we wanna still drive that bus?
I know.
the highest likelihood is a fall or some sort of vehicle accident or
Mhm.
something along those lines, which would.
And they would come to the town, that's who they would, if
What's
somebody was
that?
gonna sue, they'd be suing the town, not.
They would sue the deepest pockets.
yeah, which certainly isn't ours.
Do we need audio, I mean, do we have audio sorted out, Sue, or do we need to?
We have something that we can use with a microphone and sound so that people can hear the speaker. We'll have a podium and,
Thank you. That was my, another question.
Sure.
yeah, well, it's gonna be set up like a
In a minute.
dedication, a presentation, you know, there'll be a podium
With a mic,
with a mic
can be moved.
I have
you
a
can
question.
carry around.
I have a stupid question. When do the weather vanes start moving through?
What?
When do the not weather vanes,
Oh, windmills.
blades,
Yeah,
when do the
blades,
blades
yeah.
start coming through here? For
Hopefully
the
not that
windmills?
day.
Yeah, I know.
No, I was just wondering, is that gonna be a problem, having them come through at the time we've got all this stuff going on?
Well, the blades are supposed to come through at 5:30 in the morning, and they're supposed to have already removed stuff over by Irving and in that area, but
What,
It-
what are the blades?
Windmills?
wind turbine
The wind
blades.
turbines.
90
Oh
of them are coming
90,
through from
so,
Searsport
But-
at some point.
Well, we don't know when that's gonna start then.
I don't, but
Okay.
it's 5:30 in the morning, and the bigger problem if that, it wouldn't be on a Saturday,
Okay.
and it would be at 5:30 in the morning, not 2:30 in the afternoon. It would disrupt the race, it would
oh,
disrupt
yes, it would.
Thank you.
other things, but nothing I'm in charge of. How's that?
Nothing to worry about.
Nothing to put on my worry list, anyway.
So with all this, you know, when we're needing a number, do we need to meet again before this event? Or do you feel like you need us to pick up anything for you?
As long as you're willing to answer the phone and help if I call you up and say, help.
Okay, we can do that.
I mean, when I have a better understanding of how many people are coming from DAR and,
Maybe we can
all
coordinate
that
through
kind of
email or
stuff.
something.
because I will coordinate setting up chairs and tent setup and talk to Jay about making sure that when they were gonna put the base in the ground, that we notified Elizabeth, cause she has to be here to take pictures of that have to be submitted, that show its location, and so we're coordinating that, but that isn't gonna happen in May, that will happen in early June, so that they have time to,
Elizabeth definitely wants to be there
yes.
before they even start, actually, right? Make sure it goes in the right spot.
Yeah.
She shared that with me on the phone the other day.
Yes, I had sent the architectural drawings, and, that's what they require in order to know exactly where these are gonna be and what they're going to be, how they're gonna be exposed to the public. And, so I had chosen facing the, Valor, triangle.
Mhm.
I had chosen the left side. And just behind the two seats on the left side, there's a grassy area with nothing on it, and then the hill goes up. And one of the concerns that the manufacturer had with the posting cap was people walking past it, not really paying attention and whacking their head on it. Well, you've got a pretty good slope there behind it, and so they wouldn't be just blindly walking like they would be on a walkway or in a park or something.
Sure.
And it would work perfectly there, facing, facing the memorial, and facing the river walkway is visible from there, and it's, on a 7-foot post, steel post, which should be, they think, 2 feet down in the ground. I think it came with instructions on installing it. And it's a 30 by 30 bronze plaque, weighs 312 pounds.
Wow.
So, she's a big one. Once she's up there, she's gonna be, even with 2 feet in the ground, you're still gonna have, a good 9 feet or more there. of
Talking about a crane.
plaque.
Well,
We
yeah,
talking
let's go with this.
Public Works will figure it out.
Okay.
I trust them.
Me too.
Sincerely do trust them. Cause I for one would not wanna wrestle that thing. And that's why I had to come straight to the town of Bucksport and lay in Susan's hallway. And so when it's all up, I mean, you're gonna have a good 5 feet, and I'm 5 feet tall. A good 5 feet of post, and then another 30 inches above that. So
Hmm.
it's gonna be a nice memorial to our Revolutionary War patriots in this town. And the fact that you're going through your cemeteries, and I'm sure you've cataloged where your patriots are already in the cemeteries. If you haven't, I know you're doing it, which is wonderful. And you've got the ones that aren't cataloged yet, and hopefully this puts a memorial out for them.
Oh, I think it's been a great addition to the memorial, and I think it's gonna be a really good event. I'm very proud of the fact that we're the first one in Maine to be doing it.
You are.
And I guarantee the weather will be nice. It's gonna be sunny, 72 degrees
Don't
with
say
a slight
that.
breeze up.
I know, geez.
Have you looked at the extended forecast? I have.
I do every day.
And when is the high tide then?
That I
what
don't look
day?
at.
It's noon on that day. So it's gonna be a nice you won't have mud flats. I checked it.
Good
all.
planning.
Yeah, no, geez.
Any other questions or concerns around that event?
Anything that was on the agenda is the only ones I could remember, so.
I mean, we had public service needs, is that, you mean Public Works?
Yeah, but, well, the Public Works and, the safety.
Public safety.
Yeah, public safety, make sure that everything's all solid on that too. I think we'd already discussed that, but I threw it on there just as a general reminder to make sure we're safe.
Okay.
Because they're gonna be busy that day with that
Yeah.
race and all that coming through.
Yeah.
And even though Mr. Carmichael's, event is up at BPAC, it still involves traffic.
Sure.
So,
Yep. Okay. So moving on from that, Public Works and town managed cemetery schedules.
Oh, yeah. The reason I put that on there, do we have, I know the last couple of years we've asked the town Public Works to record their hours on the, do you have access to that information now? And
I don't have it at my fingertips
No,
at the
right.
moment, but I can get it from
Yeah,
Jay.
just so we can keep an eye on how many they're doing this year, and if it's more of a burden this year than it was
I know
last year.
the most recent Oak Hill took 2 days when they just did the work there. It took 2 of them 2 days to do. Okay.
2 man days or 2 8-hour days? Do you remember what it was?
I'll have to look at the hours, but I know it was 2 days.
Because last time it was 22 hours for 2 people, I think, wasn't it? Something like that. And I'm
They're
not- I'm
working,
not-
they're working 10-hour days now,
And-
so
and I'm not
if it was
questioning
2
any
days.
of their production, I just wanna make sure that in the budget, the future, we have a good idea what hours are being spent on everything.
Yeah.
It makes it much easier in the long run.
Yeah, it gives us something to, understand
Yeah.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Update, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it, I just wanna thank Sue.
Update to the council, what was your thought with that,
Well,
Chris?
I talked about keeping the council abreast of what we're up to, and
I can do that tonight if you wanted.
if you, only if you have time, obviously if you have time. And
Okay.
this is my third meeting today, so I won't be staying in town tonight. I'll be home.
Okay, that's okay.
I started in Augusta. By the time I get done tonight, it'll be 3 meetings in, so.
Wow.
Other items not on the agenda for discussion, does anybody have anything they wanted to bring up?
Oh, Larry, on that, James Ginn,
Yeah.
I started the application process to get that going
Okay.
with the veterans. I may contact you
Okay.
soon about that too, if I have difficulties. Is that okay? It is not okay.
It's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Thank you, Elizabeth. But I did start the application process. When I first looked up James Ginn in the records, there were a ton of them. There's James R. Ginn, James A. Ginn, and a few of them were in Maine. I thought, oh, no, this is gonna be tough. So I kept working at it, and I think I've got the right one, and I've got the application. I haven't heard back from them, so as soon as I do, I'll let everybody know.
Okay,
what I
thank you.
give you.
Right. Anything else?
Nope.
Next meeting then, would be June 24th,
I
2024?
think it's the 27th, actually. I think I made a mistake on that.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say, it's not on a Monday.
No.
The 24th would be a Monday.
I put 24th, and then I noticed today that was incorrect, so I
Yep.
changed it.
27th.
I think I changed online, it's the 27th, so
Okay,
I apologize for that. I don't know what I was looking at.
no worries. All right, item 7. Adjournment.
I second.
Motion?
All right,
Yeah.
I'll second. Steven's got the motion. I just wanna put it in the minutes, make sure we got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Yep.